They told us it would replace transportation in cities. Before anyone even knew what it was, billionaires were investing. Tech insiders were calling it bigger than the internet. Some people said it would change humanity as much as the car. The inventor kept it secret for months. When it was finally revealed, it was a bulky two-wheeled scooter. And within a few years, the device that was predicted to sell 10 million units would struggle to sell even a fraction of that. This is the story of how mystery became the product, and how Segway Inc. became one of the most anticipated inventions in modern history, all to just collapse due to its own expectations. In the late 1990s, inventor Dean Kamen was already famous. He wasn't just some random startup founder. He had created the iBot mobility system, a revolutionary wheelchair that could climb stairs. He had founded First Robotics. He had credibility. So when the news started spreading in 1999 that Kamen was working on something so revolutionary it would redefine the way people got around cities, people listened. Major investors like John Doerr from Kleiner Perkins poured money in before the public even knew what the product was. Even Steve Jobs reportedly said it was going to be as big as the PC. Jeff Bezos invested. That level of pre-launch hype is almost unheard of. There was no product, no demo, no public information, just mystery. And mystery is powerful. But when mystery and hype becomes bigger than the product itself, the product can never win. In December 2001, after months of speculation, the world finally got to see the product for the first time on national television. It balanced itself. It leaned forward to move. It looked futuristic. It was called the Segway Human Transporter. The price was around $5,000. $5,000 for something that moves slightly faster than walking. That was Segway's first crack. All the hype had positioned it as the next car, the next internet, the next urban revolution. But what people saw was a scooter. Yes, nobody had ever seen anything like it before. Yes, it was engineering genius. But consumers don't just buy engineering. They buy something that solves a problem, is going to make life easier, and make them look good while doing it. The Segway did not clearly deliver any of those. Here was the core belief behind the Segway. Cities would redesign themselves around it. Sidewalks would adapt. Cities' infrastructure would change. People would go from short car trips to a quick Segway around the corner. That assumption was unbelievably ambitious. Instead of building a product that fit into the world, they assumed the world would reshape itself around the product. That never truly works. The automobile succeeded because roads already existed. The smartphone succeeded because cellular networks already existed. But the Segway did not belong anywhere. It was too fast for sidewalks, too slow for roads, too bulky to carry inside easily, and too expensive to justify casually. It existed in a strange middle ground, and no revolutionary start to an empire ever starts in a strange middle ground. Before launch, some insiders predicted that 10 million units would sell instantly. In reality, early sales were reportedly just in the tens of thousands. That is not just missing projections, that is 100 times less than predicted. When you build that much hype, you do not just create excitement, you create expectations. Expectations that no product can realistically satisfy. Imagine if the iPhone had been introduced as something that would replace cars, reshape cities, and change civilization. If it did not immediately do all three, people would have laughed. The Segway did not fail because it was bad. It failed because it was introduced as life-changing, and life-changing is impossible to live up to. There was also an image problem. Who was actually buying Segways? Not teenagers, not trendsetters, not urban professionals. It was mall cops, security guards, and tour groups. That became the brand identity. Brand identity forms fast, and the moment a product gets labeled in culture, it is hard to reverse. Instead of symbolizing the future, it became a joke. Once a product becomes a joke, growth slows dramatically. No one wants to spend $5,000 to become a laughingstock. There was also a legal and infrastructure problem. Different cities did not know how to classify it. Was it a pedestrian device, a vehicle, or something else entirely? Regulations were inconsistent. Some cities restricted sidewalk use, others limited road access. When customers feel uncertainty about where they can use something, they hesitate. Adapting something into day-to-day life requires clarity, and the Segway dived headfirst into confusion. In 2009, British businessman Jimmy Heselden purchased Segway Inc. Just months later, in 2010, Heselden tragically died after riding a Segway off a cliff near his estate. The headlines were brutal. Even though it was a personal accident and not a product malfunction, the symbolism was devastating. A company already fighting for mainstream credibility suddenly faced becoming a global mockery again. Momentum matters, and Segway never truly got it back. Over time, the Segway found niche uses in tourism, warehouses, law enforcement, and industrial facilities. But the world-changing revolution never came. In 2015, the company was acquired by Ninebot. By 2020, production of the original Segway PT was discontinued. After nearly 2 decades, the device that was supposed to redesign cities quietly rolled away, not with a bang, but with a whisper. It was not engineering that caused the failure. It was not funding. It was not even demand in certain circumstances. It was positioning. Segway marketed itself as inevitable, but consumers do not purchase inevitability. They purchase practicality. The company tried to start a transportation revolution from the top down, but revolutions usually start from the bottom up. Cars were not revolutionary at first. They were noisy and unreliable, but over time, they became cheaper than horses and solved real problems gradually. The Segway tried to skip the gradual part. It aimed straight for transformation, and that leap was too big. This is something seen constantly in business. Founders fall in love with how impressive their product is. The more complex the technology, the more they assume it deserves the people's attention. But markets do not reward complexity. They reward need. If a 10-year-old cannot instantly understand why they need it, there is friction, and friction kills momentum. Segway required explanation. Cars did not. Smartphones did not. Even electric scooters today do not. You see one and you understand it. With the Segway, people had to ask why they would not just walk, and that question was fatal. Hype is a double-edged sword. It can amplify success, but if the product cannot instantly deliver on the emotional promise, hype accelerates failure. Disappointment spreads faster than excitement. The bigger the buildup, the harder the fall. Segway's buildup was enormous. When insiders say something will change humanity and consumers see an expensive scooter, trust erodes. Once trust erodes, sales stall. Imagine an alternative timeline where Segway launched quietly, without a mystery campaign and without a destiny narrative. Imagine it simply positioned itself as a fun and efficient way to move short distances, targeting college campuses and building culture organically while lowering the price over time. Instead of promising to reshape cities, it might have carved a profitable niche. But once you promise to reshape civilization, being niche feels like failure, even if you survive. The irony is that Segway was too successful before it even launched. There was too much money, too many expectations, and too many predictions. The product did not fail because it was useless. It failed because it could not possibly meet the hype built around it. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into billion-dollar mistakes, marketing disasters, and the real decisions that destroyed iconic companies, make sure you subscribe to Cost of Success. New videos break down the psychology, strategy, and turning points behind the biggest business collapses in history. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next story.